Rene Ruiz has been sentenced to 15 years to life for a DUI crash that killed a woman in 2018. But last week, he was resentenced to 15 years with credit for time served. He's just one of the cases affected by Senate Bill 1437, which made it possible for people convicted of crimes to petition to be resentenced. The district attorney's office says the new law is bogging down a system that is already overwhelmed. It's already received more than 525 petitions from inmates requesting resentencing under this new law this year alone. But more than that, the DA says families will be re-traumatized by having to go back to court.
I just feel for those families who have to go back in there. They probably thought finally that part of their day-to-day life was over.
Laura Keenan's husband, Matt, was killed by a wrong-way driver in 2021. She says she can relate to some of what these families will have to go through because she's in the middle of a sentencing process that has been painful because of a sentence that will be reduced to 4 days.
It's a feeling of utter injustice. For me and anybody who has lost a loved one, who's anybody who's had a loved one killed, really, that person's life is so important. My husband, Matt, was one of the most incredible people I ever knew.
But she says she can't imagine doing it again.
The criminal system made a decision, and whatever that was, they had to live with it. And now they're having to reface all that again. They'll probably have to see the person who killed their loved one again. For me, that's one of the toughest things.
The DA says thousands of the cases will qualify for reduced sentencing, and cases include murder and sexual assault. But criminal defense attorney Janronas says this is also about making a justice system that is fair for everyone, and that hasn't always been the case.
We put too many people in too many prisons for too long at enormous cost to the taxpayers. And although somewhat inconvenient perhaps to prosecutors to have to relitigate these issues, it's far more burdensome to have prisons running at 200% capacity, 250% capacity. So on balance, this is a fair and just approach to restore equity in sentencing in California.
He says he has several clients going through the process now, and one who he says was young was over-sentenced. Ronas says that client was released and now is getting a second chance.
These laws that are now designed to perhaps give people a second chance will make us a better society going forward.
But Keenan says victims' families are not only forgotten, but are being re-victimized by these laws.
I really believe that victims' families and victims should be at the core of how we decide our laws. And unfortunately, we are third parties to the system. And that's not the way it should be. Victims and victims' families deserve better.
Kitty Alvarado, KPBS News.